the finals for Grand Prix Kamloops, which is the biggest custom card constructed format tournament ever, at 25 people. And so both of these people had to struggle through a grueling 4 Swiss rounds, a stacked top eight, and eventually make it back here to face each other again, not only in another finals match, but also a rematch from earlier in this GP. It's Pipsqueak on Abzan Heart Attack Control versus Egg on a colorless white Chop Shop, which is essentially a kind of tempo-y aggressive deck, which uses threats like Lodestone Golem and cards like Glistening Chalice to eventually like attrition your opponent out of the game. It's also kind of a meta breaker with its 4 drops, which line up well into our current threats. Meanwhile, Pip is basically playing all of the best removal in the format and all of the best go over the top of what you're doing win cons with Roll, Heart of Zadina, plus Mastery of the Veil, etc. Um,
Yeah, so we actually, I think the two of us covered this same matchup in round two of the GP, I believe.
yep.
And that ended up with Egg winning either 2-0 or
It was
2-1.
2-1, but
Yeah,
like game
so
one
it
and
was
two were pretty explosively back and forth, with
hmm
I think Egg taking game one blisteringly fast off the back of a few glistening chali, and
yeah.
then Pip having a similarly blistering start with I think a bunch of ramp into a turn four I think roll. Um, but I think the thing that game three of that match showed is that like while you'd expect Pip to win in like a long game, um, like Egg because of stuff like Wilted Lotus and the tomes, the warded tomes, can actually like just eke out a lot of like card cycling. Zadina Bazaar helps with that as well. Um, and then like even if you get to the point where like the tax effects aren't super relevant, Egg can just start blanking removal with stuff like Tinkerer's Tools. And
Mhm.
even if Pip resolves a big roll or a big Children of the Clouds, has access to a Servant of Armageddon to just wipe it all. So
Yeah, so let's talk about the current game state a little bit. Egg was on the play, and although Egg had to mold a six, this is a pretty solid opening hand. Egg's pretty much got the best 3 cards in his deck right in his hand. Actually, the best 4 cards, if you include the Calthrost's Workshop as a card as
oh
well.
wow, you weren't even counting Workshop. I was like,
Well,
yeah,
I didn't. I was like, oh,
Lodestone Golem isn't that great,
shit.
but I think the main focus is here is going to
Yeah.
be the Glistening Chalice, which
Mhm.
is one of the two big tax pieces in the deck. Um,
Yeah.
and
It
like and
really.
right here, it's forcing Pip to not be able to run out a prying inquiry on her turn.
Yeah. I think that Chalice is definitely like the most important card in this matchup, because delaying Pip's removal by a turn is really really important. And when you get those chalices starting to stack with lodestone golems, that is something that can really lock Pip's deck. That kind of plays about on curve with its mana, just like straight up out of the game.
Hmm.
Interesting. So here, Pip is going to cast something in response to the Tinkerer's tools, so
He's going to
that
Pip Wield on the Chalice,
yeah,
so
that makes sense to me actually. I think
it,
this
it
is a solid play.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like Pip
Mhm.
Wield misses lots of the actual quote unquote threats of Egg's deck, and
Yeah,
Chalices. So it's going to cheapen everything by one. I'm actually surprised that Egg hard cast the Tinkerer's Tools and didn't just
yeah,
use Chalice in the first place. But I guess
I
was trying to
agree.
play it safe with the was thinking like, hey, I can get a 4 drop with Kelthros plus Perilous Passage, and I want to have Chalice up was probably the thought.
I think
Unfortunately, now it
yeah,
isn't online, so Egg is in kind of an annoying position.
I can still use the Wilted Lotus to cast Lodestone Golem here, or Junk Trawler if Egg wants to. But I would imagine Egg would rather cast Lodestone Golem. The
Wait,
one reason why you might want to um, cast Junk Trawler, and it looks like that's what Egg's doing, is because that does get you up to 3 artifacts in play. So Calibros' Workshop can like immediately be online next turn.
mm-hmm.
Um,
And also just gonna free
okay,
cast the second Tinkerer's Tools.
makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, like Pip doesn't have Singularity's Grasp now, so you're in no risk of those getting wiped. That those only come in out of the side.
I would say that Tinker's Tools is actually probably the most important card in the deck in this matchup, because it allows Egg a lot of flexibility in terms of how Egg wants to play around removal spells. Egg having a bunch of mana available with a Tinker's Tool on the board, even just 2 mana, honestly, it represents a lot of potential lines that Pipsqueak is forced to play around.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Pip did Demon Worthy to exile the Junk Trawler, but Egg's gonna answer back with a Lodestone Golem.
This is a really good play here.
And still has like a bunch of mana up for tools. It still has 2 mana up for tools,
so my
which is
question to
important.
you is, does Egg have any 5 converted mana cost artifacts in his deck? Because if so, okay, so this is pretty bad as a turn for Pip, just casting a blank Prying Inquiry.
Yeah, I think that's why Egg didn't play the Kalathros' Workshop last turn, just to bait this.
Mm-hmm.
It does Prying Inquiry, like one of the big upsides of it is that it does get you the clue, which can be huge in some matchups. Also, Pip saying thinking. I'm just gonna do a wait here. Because Pip actually missed the life loss from...
Oh, there it is.
Oh, okay.
Do you think that is something that ought to have a judge called over, or feel like it was caught pretty quickly?
I think we should still... can you just at Windy or a judge and just mention it? I think for posterity it should be mentioned.
Looks like Pip is already doing that, actually.
Okay, in that case, no issue. But yeah, this is the finals, so we're trying to keep it a little... Just trying to make sure, keeping everything rules compliant. We are at competitive REL.
Yeah.
Which, for those who don't know, REL is rules enforcement level.
I think, honestly, given that Egg is out of cards, this is about the best position you could hope to be in. The Brine Fleet Bay is a really good draw here.
Mm-hmm.
Because that potentially adds another threat to the board. Should give protection for the Lodestone Golem against, say, if Pip plays something like an Exant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're getting Lodestone Golem attacking here. Now, see, this is going to make it very hard for Pip to actually interact with Egg's board, because Egg has 2 Tinkerer's Tools available and potentially up to 5 mana. So,
yeah, and at this point, and assuming Pip just doesn't have any relevant interaction left, her best options are Whisperwoods for 3 this turn, and then Demon Worthy for 4 next turn.
Absolutely.
And yeah, now Perilous Passage coming off to even cut off that avenue. So, this is a kind of a problematic position for Pip.
Yeah, sorry, I was just laughing because I was reading the chat a little bit. But yeah, back to the game. We're going to see Monument of Queens coming out. So, what do you think is the reasoning for the Perilous Passage activation? What is Pip trying to keep, or what is Egg trying to keep Pip off of?
I think it was more I have the mana, I don't need this land particularly, and as long as I can keep Pip from playing spells, I win in 2 to 3 turns. In fact, Egg is worried about interaction here, but if Egg had just dropped the Blundering Clock Tower, that would have... Oh no, it doesn't have haste.
It doesn't have haste, yeah.
But...
It does threaten lethal next turn for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very annoying for Pip, because Egg now has lethal on multiple avenues.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Passing the turn with 5 mana up with Tinker's Tools is really scary, because Egg can also just sacrifice a creature and go get Symbol of Divinity for 5 mana.
Or if you're worried about multiple removal spells, you just you can just hold up both Tinker's Tools and just blink and blank both of them.
Yeah. So Egg has cast Whispered Exploration. Pip has cast Whispered Exploration. I think Pip probably needs to get the Demon Worthy.
There's no other removal spell.
There is Sevid, which can chump block the Lodestone Golem. Okay.
Oh yeah, Pip is just gonna, because she doesn't have enough answers. You answer the Lodestone, a Blundering Clock Tower still gets you. Which Blundering Clock Tower is kind of a disgusting card. The very cheap. Yeah. And 7 life is because there's always the adage, I think, in actual Magic of you're safe until you're at 6 life, because that's double bolt range. Blundering Clock Tower single-handedly represents more reach than that. Um, mhm,
Yeah. I think I think Pip's deck is definitely a deck that tends to get a lot better after sideboarding compared to most other decks,
mhm,
because really it's like a big suite of different like styles of removal, and being able to kind of tune your deck the way you want is something that these kind of decks really utilize well.
mhm.
Um,
Also, Pip being, if I remember right, Pip being on the draw here was definitely an issue for her,
oh yeah,
because like Pip, like getting the Glistening Chalice under her interaction was kind of brutal. Also, they're going
yeah.
straight into game two, so
Oh
not
great,
really much of a chance to
going
discuss
fast.
sideboarding. But from
Yeah.
what we've heard, like Egg talk about before, he has Glistening Sanctum's main, which, which apparently was kind of a design mistake. They always come out for these Shining Crusaders. And fortunately for Egg, I don't think there's been a single game where he's drawn one of them game one. So
Honestly, I
was
really have
not
not
punished for the
seen.
choice of putting that in as a 4x.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've covered egg a lot. Like almost every single game I've covered has been egg,
Mm-hmm.
and like I don't know whether that's just like because our schedules happen to be around the same time, so like I'm available when he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I have literally never seen Glistening Sanctum resolved.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it drawn a couple times, but I've never seen it resolved. So that is something that it feels like Shining Crusader probably just should be in the main. Um,
Mm-hmm. Which, like, growing pains. I think this is an
yeah.
untested, completely offbeat brew. So
What did you think about that mulligan from Egg? Because I actually thought that hand was fine.
the hand looked fine to me. I think that's definitely something we'll have to ask afterwards.
Yeah. So, so I think generally the reason why if you get a hand that's like that, like it can play spells on a reasonable curve and it can do things. Generally the reason why someone might still mulligan that hand is because either you need a certain game plan to beat your opponent's matchup, or you need a certain card to
Mm-hmm.
beat the opponent. Um,
Also, it looks
so
like Pip
perhaps
did bring in
Egg,
Stan Unassailable from the side. And
I
a
think that's a
quick,
good bring in.
yeah, well, one quick thing though is that I was like talking about keeps. I was actually rather surprised by Pip keeping this because
Hmm.
she didn't have the third land initially, um,
Yeah,
and like if you get stuck on lands in this matchup, you are just dead. And like I don't know, like without fuel, the hunter's hideout good? I guess it functions as repeated removal, but
yeah. I actually think the fact that Stan was Stan in the opening hand.
I think stand was in the
Okay,
opener.
yeah. I actually think that that's a reasonable keep personally, because Intrepid goes a long way. Intrepid also trades with like it's gonna trade with probably whatever beater Egg is hitting you with.
Yeah, it
So
trades with
I'm
everything
not
except Brinefleet Bay itself.
yeah.
Speaking of which, turn two Intrepid from Egg is actually pretty big money.
Turn to Intrepid is good. Finding the workshop is definitely the most important part, but Intrepid still won't be able to attack until turn 4. I think that Egg has a pretty sick line of play next turn. All Egg really has to do is drop a 1 cost artifact, then the workshop's online, you drop some more stuff, you draw some cards, Warded Tome, you play the Bazaar, you start stacking the Warded Tome. You don't do all of this next turn, but like Egg has a good line of play.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, actually, it doesn't because
Interesting.
the early Sing's Grasp just to act as a essentially a sinkhole.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. If I were playing in Pip's shoes right now, I almost always would have gone for the turn 3 Intrepid. But that would just because I didn't consider the Singularity's Grasp line. I think this is actually pretty solid. Putting Egg further back on mana and delaying that Egg's Intrepid from actually doing anything. This also means that Egg will actually not be able to tap Workshop for 3 mana this turn. So um, the Chalice is a really huge draw though, because Egg will just be able to spam out 3 artifacts. Or Egg can choose to um, make make pip spells more expensive, but I think that's the wrong play personally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so
I
just
agree with.
gonna go for it.
I think this is good because you're drawing 2 cards now and another card next turn. Um,
And I think usually the worry is what if they Sing's Grasp you, but Pip already ran
exactly,
it out.
exactly. So you
I
don't.
mean,
This
she
doesn't
does
really
have
have.
another copy, but it's unlikely that she'll have another. I think is the intuition.
Yeah, yeah, 100% agreed. Okay, so you got 2 Order Tomes, Wilted Lotus. So my question is, why not draw the cards now? Is it to play around Prying Inquiry and discard spells?
I think 100% that's the reason.
Okay.
And like,
Yeah.
given Pip's top deck here, I can't say it's a wrong choice.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, 4
Okay.
mana. What is this?
Um,
Oh,
so
it's just Heart of Zedinaing for no reason, I guess.
there's no real reason to do this, I think.
Okay.
Hitting the Abzan is pretty big. Um,
Bazaar would have been able to convert all of these Warded Tomes and Wilted Lotai into like
yeah,
actual card advantage. It would have been able to play. It's another tool that Egg's deck has to play around removal profitably, which is
yeah.
something that's like so important in this matchup.
I believe there's no reason for Pip to activate Heart as opposed to just tapping lands for mana regularly, but it also doesn't.
Just a flex. Just a
Yeah,
flex.
pretty much just a flex. Yeah. Okay.
And I think with this, that means that next turn Pip has roll mana, and so we'll be able to power out. Which also I think would kind of explain the Sing's Grass play, because now Pip wants to be the aggressor.
Agreed.
Just
Yeah.
hit their resources, resolve a threat that they don't have an answer to. Oh my god, Natural Servant of Armageddon, though. That will put a damper on the roll. Would have been even better with the Zedina Bazaar, but it's still reasonable.
Agreed. Yeah, I do think that Singularity's Grass play actually panned out quite well for Pip, because now Egg is actually on the back foot. The Intrepid is still not going to be online for at least another couple turns unless Egg draws another land right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Egg does not. Because Egg already has a Perilous Passage in play, Egg won't be able to just like start attacking with the Intrepid for a while. And Pip is still at 26 life. So, yes, Egg definitely can go for a long game, but it's certainly not what Egg wants to be doing in this matchup.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing is that 100% if I was Egg, I would play the Perilous Passage, immediately crack it to kill Heart. Yeah, and that saves you a lot of heartache, pun unintended.
How does did Egg have the mana to do that?
Yeah, because Cracked Wilted Lotus got 2 from that. It paid
I
for
forgot
paid with
about the Lotus. Okay,
paid with the original Perilous Passage.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
then that's a really good play. Yeah, killing that Heart is very important.
Pip is going to drop the Hunter's Hideout, though, and this basically makes every one of her cards just point and click, kill your thing.
Egg does not actually have an answer to the Hideout that is on the board, correct?
Yeah, like, do you mean in his deck at all?
Gilded Gear Hulk is the only out.
Oh, no. He also has Festival of Fading Lights, but doesn't have the mana to use it.
Do you think Egg would actually bring that in, though?
I don't know. I don't think he would, but
yeah,
that is a potential answer.
I definitely think at this
because
point,
like the only target in Pip's deck is the Intrepid, as far as Egg knows. So
yeah. So the one caveat is that Pip is basically the aggressor now, because Egg definitely has the advantage in terms of cards and mana.
But like this Intrepid is never coming online.
That's the problem. Yeah.
I think Egg could do some like cheeky plays with like a Legend ruling his own Intrepid, and then just using that to fetch other lands.
Egg could play Intrepid, and then fetch up another land. Possibly, I'm not sure what Egg would want here, to be honest. Out of the land suite, possibly a Blundering Clock Tower. Let me see. Let me like take a look at this deck list.
Just something differently named, of course.
Oh yeah, it should not be another Workshop or another. I think if I were Egg, I would.
Oh, it's cheapening everything by 1 with the Glistening Chalice. So gonna.
Okay, so here's the Intrepid.
Okay.
Looks like Egg actually tapped the Intrepid to buff the Junk Trawler too.
Yep. It's a 4/3 now.
So Egg has 1 colorless mana floating. We're gonna get.
And yeah, it looks like he did get the Blundering Clock Tower as predicted.
Okay. So
plays that out.
Egg now has 4 mana available. We're gonna see 2 of it used to cast Shining Crusader. Egg could also choose to cast
Intrepid numeral 12.
Intrepid here.
I don't think you need to do that, but
well, the reason for that would be if you wanted to. Okay, so this is a
Trawler swings for 7. Yeah, Trawler swings for 7. And finally, Pip is below her starting life total.
So, my actual question is like, did you need to activate the Glistening Chalice there?
I don't
Basically, what the
think
Glistening
so.
Chalice did was save Egg 2 mana. But Egg could have just paid for that 2 mana with the Power Cell and the Clock Tower. So essentially, Egg tapped the Glistening Chalice to do 1 damage.
Yeah, I don't think that was worth it.
I agree. I think Egg should have held the Chalice up. But perhaps I think the
Like
reason
the
Egg
one
tapped
reason to
it
do
was
the
because
chalice, in my opinion, is if you are planning if he had something that cantripped and you were hoping to draw into something some other threat, but that was
yeah,
just
there
not the
wasn't really
case.
anything available. Yeah.
Hmm. So it's
So
gonna Hunter's Hideout and
okay,
just shoot the junk trawler, which makes sense. The junk trawler represents like
I
big
actually have
clock.
another thought. What if instead of getting the Clock Tower, Egg searched up Encroaching Seasons and destroyed the snow-covered swamp?
That actually could have been big.
I actually think that would have been a better play because that turns off all of Pip's black mana, and it turns off the Intrepid for now.
Additionally, or could have killed the forest, and that would have made it so that Pip can't use Hunter's Hideout to shoot your things.
Agreed. Yeah. Granted, that doesn't actually advance your own Intrepid, so but I think Egg is more of in the camp like Egg just wants to stall, because
Egg, well, at this point, Egg needs an answer to Intrepid. Basically needs one. I think you just play Intrepid here, get another land.
okay,
Oh no, I
so
was gonna
we're
Zadina. Okay, so I guess you Zadina your own
that's
Intrepid rather
our
than Legend ruling it.
but without notably Egg did not activate the Chalice this turn, and I think this turn actually might be a turn when you do want to activate the Chalice
Wait, why so? You just
because Egg is cantripping. Oh, the Seasons is a good draw. Okay, so Egg can actually animate Intrepid, attack with it, and then after combat,
no
second
can't animate it. Doesn't have four differently named lands.
well, Egg just drew Encroaching Seasons.
Oh no, I'm dumb. Yeah.
So animate the Intrepid, attack for 4, and then sack Encroaching Seasons. Take Pip either off of double green or off of black.
Mm. Or
That seems
mm, or
that
could
seems
just
like a
or
plan.
could just play the other Intrepid.
I disagree with that for sure because Egg has the Zadina Bazaar next turn. Okay, so looks like Egg is going for the Snow Covered Forest. Okay,
Okay. Notably
so
though,
we just
this
lost
does turn off Intrepid next turn.
Oh, okay, so Pip drew another green land anyway.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, that's too bad. I think it's kind of hard to say. I think the right play is probably still to get rid of the double green.
Mm-hmm.
What is this one more coming from? Oh,
Go to Chalice,
Egg.
tap and Chalice.
Okay, I thought Pip was stopped on the draw step for some reason.
No, yeah.
I thought
So
maybe Egg was saying like one more damage or something like that.
yeah, I think
um,
if you're Pip, do you just what do you shoot first? I think
I think you killed the Zadina Bazaar for sure.
yeah, you killed Zadina so that Egg can start cantripping, and then you can swing in for 4 with Intrepid because Egg tapped out. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, if you're Egg, do you kill the Substratum with the Perilous Passage?
I doubt it because you just play your Intrepid, grab a 4th land, and then you have a blocker for Pip's Intrepid, which is the main clock on you right now, and it's a 2-turn clock. There's no reason not. There's no reason to turn off your own Intrepid just to kill.
Well, you can play your own you can play another Intrepid. Oh, actually, no, you're right. It doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, and like
Yeah, drawing another.
but I guess the problem is like whatever Pip draws can just ditch it to Hunter's Hideout and kill your own Intrepid.
Yeah, this is actually a very awkward situation for Egg right now. If Egg had drawn any land that wasn't one of the 3 that Egg already has in play, that would have been like a perfect draw essentially. But
Hmm. So
um,
what are you doing, Egg? Is Egg gonna
I
play the
think the
Servant
best
of
play
Armageddon?
I think the best play has to be the Intrepid, and just hold up the blocker. I think. Actually, that doesn't even work because Pip can just discard whatever cards.
No,
he
yeah,
draws,
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Pip-
I don't think Egg really has a good play here, to be honest. Nothing really seems like, oh, this is good.
Mhm. Obviously
I
the
think
play
I think
obviously the
maybe
play is to activate Blundering Clock Tower, swing for 7, and immediately die.
I think if your egg maybe okay, so we're getting the intrepid here. What egg can search for a land, um, like maybe another encroaching seasons or something.
Or another parallel. Actually, one thing might
Another
be
perilous
another.
passage seems worse.
Oh no, sorry. You get an encroaching seasons, and then I think you perilous passage pass. You perilous passage the. Oh wait, no, precursor
Precursor
sanctum makes sense.
sanctum.
I
Okay.
mean, it's card advantage, but then I think
Yeah.
you definitely perilous passage the resplendent substratum now, so that.
So
You,
this is actually no. I think this is a good play because it forces Pip to discard whatever she draws if she wants to get in for 4, and then Egg can hopefully hit something good. So Egg hit Inquire, which is one of the better cards to hit off that.
kind of, but then again, it's still not an answer to Hunter's Hideout in a meaningful capacity.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, the actual best thing would be
Yeah,
would
okay, so
be
he's gonna perilous passage to
okay.
substratum.
But the problem is now
If Egg
if
doesn't
Pip
hit a
draws a
land,
land,
then
actually no, this is better because if Pip draws a land, then it's like okay, you took 4. But if Pip doesn't draw a land, then you're not taking 4. Whereas in the
oh yeah,
other
oh that
scenario,
turns off
Pip
Pip's
gets
own
to
Intrepid. I
decide.
completely missed that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I
now
was
Pip
I was
can't play
considering.
Sevid. So that basically just time walked Pip.
Okay, that was actually a pretty big brain by Egg. Now let's see if Egg can hit Wanderlust.
Yeah, I love how
Okay.
I was like thinking about like Egg's own lands and then just completely missed the fact that yes, Pip's Intrepid also has that requirement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So um, okay, Shining Crusader is fine here as a draw. It's not great.
And then it looks like he's gonna free cast off Precursor the
Egg can't
Inquire.
cast that. Egg doesn't have Wanderlust.
Yeah, Egg doesn't have Wanderlust. There's
Uh,
okay. You want to just type it out?
should I just type in the judge?
Type it.
Should
Yeah,
I,
at Judge. Um, yeah, I feel like I've definitely had those moments with Intrepid as well, where it's like, what do you mean I can't animate it? I have 4 lands.
um,
Also, notably, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I believe that this finals is best 2 out of 3. So,
yeah, it is 2 out of 3.
oh, it looks like Egg realized that Wanderlust is a thing, but then like forgot that the power cell was not a land, which,
Yeah,
oof.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
What do you think the judge is gonna call?
I think it would probably just be GRV. I don't know if can you rewind to putting Inquirer under Precursor?
I'm guessing they would reset the Inquirer to under the Precursor, give Egg a warning, and then continue.
Yeah, probably leave his mana
Yeah,
tapped.
Pip just gets free information.
Yeah. Um, it doesn't change much in Pip's favor, or like sorry, in Egg's favor, though. Um,
Yeah.
Pip is still stuck without Wanderlust for Intrepid, still stuck without the ability to cast Sevid, unless if she top decks a green source, both of those things change rapidly, and that can become an issue. Um, but other than that, Egg has like a reasonable clock, with like Shining Crusader, and then if because Shining Crusader you only need to get them down to 7. So while it looks like a 5 turn clock, it's actually more of like a 3 turn clock.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that like, regardless of whether or not Egg has to leave his mana tapped, Egg is in a pretty commanding position here. Pip's pretty top deck reliant. Like Pip's outs are either like hit a green land, that's hopefully not another basic forest,
Hmm.
which is a good out. That
Or
that would put
hit like an exit to kill Shining Crusader.
yeah. I think basically if you're Pip, you just like pray you hit some kind of green land.
Hmm.
That's like the only way, and you have to hit it soon because like the more chances Egg gets to hit Wanderlust and actually be able to drop Inquirer plus attack with his own Intrepid is like that's the closer that's just closer and closer to Egg being able to kind of like take over the game.
Yeah.
Um,
And like Egg, if you let Egg get to 6 mana, um, we'll be able to start untapping this Warded Tome to like draw
yeah,
cards.
yeah, I agree. I think it's just pretty funny because sometimes like honestly I just like completely forget about Word Tome a lot of the time, but like because I don't think Egg has ever actually untapped it, but like it is a very strong late game plan. Or I don't know about very strong, but it is a late
Reasonable.
game plan that will win a top deck.
Yeah, I think like Egg's deck is filled with a lot of cards which I initially balked at or was like, huh? But then they fulfill like
Yeah,
many different roles. Like Warded Tome is a cheap artifact that cantrips, so which can help to turn on your Keltrosis Workshop. It's
yeah,
fodder for your Zadina Bazaar. Um, it's fodder for Tinkerer's Tools. It's and then eventually you can just start drawing cards with it each turn. So like it's incredibly flexible, and because it doesn't cost a card, it's really good. And then you're usually like, well, even if it cantrips, it costs a mana, so that's tempo loss. But then you usually make up that tempo in spades with Keltros's Workshop or Glistening Chalice. So
yeah. Um, I don't know. I think like Warded Tome in particular is actually just one of the cards that makes this deck work so well. Because it really helps you hit critical mass with just like having enough artifacts in play with the workshop, having like drawing a card, and then also being able to sacrifice it to the bazaar or the tools. Just makes it like very much a glue card that makes the whole deck come together very well. I think.
yeah, and I think like the weird part is I think we've talked about lots of cards this way, like Tinkerer's Tools by its ability to tutor out stuff and blank removal, Zadina Bazaar for its cantripping ability, Keltros's Workshop and Glistening Chalice for their incredible like speed out potential, Lodestone Golem for its taxing. Like the deck has like so many moving parts, um, but it's also not like it needs all of these to function. Like each piece like complementing each other piece in like a different way makes it so that like there are many like compositions of hands which just work out. You're rarely gonna get wrong half is
I
how the
agree.
deck feels.
And the funny thing is that, and not only is Egg facing off against a deck that is designed to grind you out in a lot of cases, but Egg also had to mulligan both of these games, and in both games, Egg has managed to come out ahead on card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it looks like we're getting this rewound.
Yep.
Um, and it looks like, let me check the judge call.
So it looks like you can like according to the thing it you can activate. So you may play the exiled card.
Oh, so Egg
So
activate. So the ruling is Egg activated the ability, but then was unable to play the card.
mm-hmm.
Okay. I
Yeah.
guess that checks out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, and because of this, Egg actually forgot to chalice on upkeep.
interesting. So that's also very big. And then Pip also, so Pip drew a Singularity's Grasp, which while it's not the Green Land
Oh,
we were talking
on draw.
about. You can still do it on draw step, yeah,
Yeah.
which is essentially the same thing. Um,
It was basically Egg being like, "Oh God, I remember this," and then before Pip moves to main.
yeah. Okay, so that does time walk Pip again, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Could
Uh,
cast Sin's Grasp X=1 to take out the Power Cell and Warded Tome, but
oh,
somehow
there's
somehow I don't think that's a good play.
okay. That's probably GG, I think.
Brindefleet
Um,
Bay. Oh yeah, so because Brindefleet Bay
Egg
turns on
now attack
Intrepid,
for
Shining
14.
Crusader. So you swing for 9 this turn, then you kill Pip next turn.
Egg actually has lethal.
Um,
It can play the Brindefleet Bay, animate Blundering Clock Tower, crew the Brindefleet Bay with the Shining Crusader.
oh Jesus, say it ain't so.
Oh, but Egg's not gonna do it. I think Egg must have missed the line.
Or Egg is trying to play around removal.
I
Doesn't
suppose,
want to
but,
accidentally time walk himself, and then get hit by a Pithwell to the face, or to the Intrepid, as it were.
but like that's not even. Oh, I guess that would actually kill you. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
It wouldn't kill you, but it would be
It would kill you because if you animate Clock Tower and then you get your Intrepid Fifth Wilted, you're gonna die from two Intrepid swings potentially.
but yeah, potentially. So swings in for 8 with the Brine Fleet plus Shining.
That's good. I think there's no reason to attack with the Intrepid here. It doesn't use their clock, and it doesn't
And then Pip is like, think you just missed lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still don't think.
Like, yeah, I think the playing around Pithwell argument is very reasonable. There's no reason to, like, this is pretty much a guaranteed win anyway, so there's no reason.
Well, I guess one thing is that, like, because of Precursor Sanctum, Egg could have done all of that while still keeping back. Oh no, could Egg have done that while still keeping back?
What, the Inquirer? Yeah.
No, the Intrepid. The Intrepid. Like,
no, Egg could not do that without keeping back the Intrepid.
Yeah.
Egg didn't have enough mana.
Okay, yeah. If Egg had one more mana, could have free cast Rover, use that to crew Blind Feet Bay. And then
Notably, Pip has Children of the Clouds, which can be cast for 2 currently, and will come down for 2. Because
actually,
even if
let's
he tries
see,
to...
2 or more non-white. Oh yeah, the colorless is non-white.
So it looks like we're just attacking with these 3.
Because it's lethal either way. But yeah, Pip is gonna clutch Children of the Clouds, X equals 2. Probably block Inquirer plus Intrepid.
Well, those are the only creatures you can block. Yeah. I suppose there might be a reason why Pip might want to, like, leave a bird if you want to try to, like, counterswing.
But yeah, it just doesn't have...
That doesn't really make much sense to me. Bazaar's coming down here. Probably sack the Water Tome.
I think you just keep it up just in case of removal. And then you can sack the Water Tome on end.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game is looking eminently over.
Okay, this game should be over, yeah.
Yeah, Whisperwood's literally 0 outs. Singularity's Grasp X equals... Oh, I was going to be like...
No, you can't get back a land with the Whisperwood Exploration, so there's no way to use it to turn on Wanderlust.
Yeah, it's actually over.
I believe this is the end of the match. Unless Egg just decides not to win the game for some reason.
I mean, Flare is a reason.
Okay,
oh no, that turns on Hideout. I forgot. Oh, you cheeky bugger. That is a card.
I think it's still lethal. Clock Tower has trample.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, Pip is tapped out. So you swing in with Intrepid. That's unblockable. And then you can swing. It doesn't even matter if it has trample or not because you swing with Shining Crusader, Inquirer, and Blundering Clock Tower, and it's lethal either way. With Shining Crusader has protection. Okay, whew. And that's the end of Grand Prix Kamloops. My God. But CanterburyEgg takes it in a clean sweep. Yeah, I don't think Egg lost a single set this entire tournament.
He did not. This deck seems like it's the real deal, just gotta say.
Yeah, it was a really cool... Like, I think there are lots of people, including me, I think before seeing it play, were kind of like, what is... Like, it seems kind of janky. But then, it comes together so well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to invite Egg to get into voice chat.
Ooh, okay. Let's get that post-game interview.
Word. Or actually, wait, let me just add... we can just add him to the call.
Yeah, just invite him to the call.
Let's see. But yeah, I think I love this feeling of, like, the meta keeps evolving. We keep getting new cool things. And I just think that's neat.
Yeah. I really like how this deck, like, it's a good deck, right? But it is particularly good against all of these, like, kind of very removal heavy, like, kind of slow but grindy decks, that just, and also their removal just straight up doesn't line up well.
And like it's deliberately, because Pitbull was the most played card, I think, in this GP and before the GP. So like choosing all these 4-drops, which they look kind of clunky, but like with lots of ramp and ways to turbo them out, it's actually like a really good meta call.
Agree. So it looks like we have Egg and Pip here in this call.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, what's up?
Hello. I guess first question I would have is just like, what are your general thoughts on the match? how you feel you played?
Um, so I believe my deck is very favored in this matchup. And I think we saw that game one where there just wasn't really much game that happened. We had a little bit of interaction, but I was just still able to steamroll through. Game two was, I think, Pip's best competitive game against my deck, and we ended up in a position where if she had top decked better than me, I would have lost that game. I just ended up drawing my fourth land before she was able to draw her fourth land, the third time around, and a couple of turns of that, and the game was over. But if she had drawn a fourth land or maybe a demon worthy at some critical point there, I think that game goes a lot differently.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
think it's also just like you all just like were exerting pressure from like once you started like drawing like creature lands and like different like the Zadina bazaars and stuff. It's like almost everything is weirdly like a must answer threat in some way. And like while Pip does have really good point and click removal, it becomes substantially worse when like you need it in gross quantities. And like yeah, and Pip not having that fourth land meant that she couldn't like advance her game plan and just kill you really quickly without needing to swing back into a defensive position.
yeah. I think that once that game came down to the wire after killing the first the snow covered forest and then the resplendent substratum, it was really draw dependent, and Pip happened to draw a couple cards that were essentially blanks with the
Yeah, Chalice putting in work there again.
exactly, yeah.
I
Do you have any
definitely,
Yeah,
thoughts? Yeah.
I definitely felt Singular's Grasp no longer being an instant in that matchup very, very hard.
Oh yeah,
Um,
because yeah,
uh,
yeah,
just being able to avoid the Chalice
I had
tax would have
one
been great.
rotting in my hand for the last like 4 turns of the game, Egg.
Okay.
wow.
I have another question for you, Egg. What's the promo?
Oh yeah.
That's a good question.
Just know that if it isn't glistening Chalice, we're coming for you.
So there are a few cards that put in a lot of work in this deck. We're not going to promo Lodestone Golem because it's a reprint. That'd be pretty lame. We could definitely promo Workshop, although it's just basically a card that already exists except worse. Still very good, but worse, so that's a little lame too. I think it's got to be either Chalice or Tinkerer's Tools. Haven't quite made up my mind yet. Chalice put in a lot of work, but I think Tinkerer's Tools was the #1 best card in the deck because it just, as soon as I had the tools untapped against Pip in game one, I felt like I couldn't lose because it just turned her removal into nothing.
Yeah, like the deck already swerves removal by, just having unpithwiltable threats, and then just adding the extra layer on top of it of, well, okay, if you try to point removal at my threats, I'll either Zadina Bazaar them, or Tinker's Tools them, or if I have enough mana, I can do both in a turn, so you stacking removal spells isn't much good. It's just so backbreaking versus any deck that's trying to meaningfully interact rather than outrace you. And if they try to outrace you, you just have ways to tax them to slow them down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I
this
guess
is
like
a really
I guess
great
one
pile.
question is like,
Sure.
what change? Starting with Pip, then Egg. What changes would you make to your deck if you're going to like bring this to another GP, like from the experience of playing this GP? And also like, do you think that it's like, I think this might be a stupid question since you guys are in the finals, but like, do you think that it's a viable deck going forward? And if you think it is, what can people do to make it less viable? Like by how can they play around it?
So,
Yeah, you can go
so
ahead and go first.
yeah. First off, I think this deck is viable in the sense that the vast majority of MSEM decks are viable. I'm probably not going to bring it to another GP because I missed having counter magic, but like, I think the core plan of a bunch of really good removal with a kind of rampy win con is just genuinely good in this format. Um, Things I would change, I'm not convinced that I had the right numbers for a lot of my interaction pieces. Only having 2 Exeuns felt really rough in some matchups, in particular this one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, really only this one. But uh, given that this is the match that I lost twice this GP, and otherwise didn't drop a match, whereas Egg just didn't drop a match. Um, and sideboard was kind of whack. The Hunter's Hideout was good in this matchup, which is kind of what I boarded it in for, or like what I put in the sideboard for, but I don't know how good it was. Like, I don't know if there are just other things I could be playing. And it felt really clunky in the matchups where I was bringing it in for threat density.
Gotcha.
I like the win-con suite of this deck. I think the Heart of Zadina Mastery of the Veil plan is very powerful. I think Rockroll is still an outrageous card, and it really showed its force this GP. People should still be playing that card if they have decks for it.
I will say, like, it was pretty terrifying seeing, like, Sevid, like, flip 2 lands into a turn 4 roll. Those are definitely, like, the explosive potential of the deck alongside its, like, I was expecting it to be, like, good at controlling the game. What I wasn't expecting was how explosive it could get with, like, essentially 3 mana. Okay, this is actually a double ramp spell, haha.
Yeah. Also, this deck is the one that I've cast Rock the most in. Like, in that matchup, there was like one turn where if Egg hadn't Glistening Chalice, I was going to fire off a Rock without a single moment of hesitation just to get 2 more lands. Because Explosive Vegetation is very good in that matchup, since it all comes down to who has more resources and who can abuse mana more. I don't know, in general, this deck seems strong. I don't think it would be embarrassing to show up in a future GP with, but I think there are bigger brain decks to play if you feel confident in being able to leverage a skill differential. And this is going to be the most arrogant thing I'm saying this GP, but I don't feel like this deck is what got me to the finals, if that makes sense.
Got you.
I think if I just had a pile of reasonable Magic cards, such as Intrepid, Exeunt, etc., I could have probably gotten to top 8.
Which, you know, your record speaks for itself, so...
Yeah, most time on Intrepid and Exeunt, so, you know. But this deck in particular definitely had some good matchups that I lined up well into, and it had apparently one Nightmare matchup, which was unfortunately piloted by someone who knew what he was doing and ended up in the finals with me, so rip.
Yeah, and I only had to cheat once to beat you, so...
Yeah.
So if that's all, if we're about to sign off, I just want to say.
Oh wait, no, we still have.
Wait, no, Egg has to say things.
Yeah, Egg has to talk.
Ah, shit. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, so this deck came to me in like a big brain. Pithwelt is the card most people are gonna bring. Go and beat it moment. And I didn't know we had straight up Lodestone Golem. I just didn't know that card was in our format until I started looking through our 4-mana threat.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't either. I was like, is this legal? Y'all good?
Honestly, when I submitted the deck list, I was like 50% sure Lackey Bow was going to say, nah, that's an illegal card. It's just a promo. You can't put that in your deck. But apparently I can. So this deck is, it's a lot of fun to play. It's really hard to pilot. And depending on the meta, it's going to be very good or very bad. It's very good against decks with point-and-click removal. It's very good against, you know, the mid-range style of deck that are trying to activate 4 or 5 mana every single turn. It's terrible against fast decks. It's terrible against, like, big ramp decks. Because if you're trying to tax a ramp deck by 1 and they have 11 mana, you're not really doing much. So as long as the meta stays right in the middle, this deck's going to be great. But if the meta ever skews so that we're seeing a lot of fast or a lot of big decks, this deck gets really bad.
Okay, and I'm gonna like make an argument now for why you should promo Chalice over Tools, is because I think Chalice works like well in both of those matchups, even though they're still awful. But like Glistening Chalice being able to like make all of your opponent's lava spikes cost 1 more, or like in the ramp matchup being able to put them off their 3 mana ramp if you're on the play, stuff like that is really great. While Tinkerer's Tools, while it is good, it doesn't have that same kind of game in matchups where they're just trying to linear you, is my feeling.
The one thing
I agree.
The one thing I will say on that front is I feel like Tinkerer's Tools has more notoriety in this format. Caillou, I don't know if it's definitely before Dodger's time, and Caillou, it might be before your time, but I'm pretty sure Tinkerer's Tools was one of the first 4 or 5 cards added to the MSEM ban list.
Yeah, that was definitely before my time. I think I mentioned before, the first time I saw it was in Hellbent Speed.
Yeah, and it got unbanned after a minor rework. I don't remember what the rework was. But this is the kind of nerfed, reworked version. But the old version was apparently a very powerful combo tool in eggs. So I think there's some merit to promoting that because, you know, it has history. The other strong argument is Zadina Bazaar, because I kind of doubt we'll ever see a deck that makes as good use of Zadina Bazaar. I definitely, when I saw you include that in this deck, I was like, that can't be your best card advantage engine, but it definitely overperformed.
I think like everything looks just like a little too expensive to work, but all of like the all of like the little cheapening pieces alongside like crazy ramp turns with Kelly's workshop just makes it like so much more viable than you'd ever expect. Like than it has the right to be, basically.
Yeah, and it opens up a lot of interesting lines of play as well, where you can use your Chalice to discount something before getting your Kelly Thross's Workshop online, so that the Workshop can cast a Lodestone Golem turn. There's a lot of little stuff where you can get incremental edges. I do want to say that as for changes I'd make to the deck, it's offensive to Moonlight Sanctum that I included it in this deck. It's offensive to Shining Crusader that I didn't. And it's a little offensive to deck builders everywhere that I didn't notice that as soon as I built the deck. I still don't mind having a little white splash, because Festival of Fading Lights performed really well out of my sideboard, especially in a meta that had a bunch of villainies and some Hunter's Hideouts that I needed to snipe. But the fact that Shining Crusader wasn't in my main deck was just because I didn't look at 3-cost artifact creatures until after I had built the deck and submitted it. So that
it was just all, it was like, what? Like 3-cost? That is for people who want to die to Pithwilt. and then it's like Shining Crusader being like, I don't die to Pithwilt.
Shining Crusader is actually, I think, the oldest design of mine in the format.
You designed the format.
Yeah, it entered the format at the same time as 101, but I designed it substantially before 101 in my first ever custom cube. And then when Cajun was soliciting designs for the bonus sheet in Villains the Musical, I was like, hey, this card probably plays really interestingly constructed.
Yeah, so,
and I proceeded to die to it repeatedly.
Yeah, so how did it feel to lose to your own card?
I do that all the time. Last GP, I got my head smacked in by a T23 Aegis, so, you know, I'm used to it by this point.
That's true. Piper has a habit of designing cards that make me go, oh, that looks awesome.
And, like, Egg was like, you know, not today. Just swerving his own Pithwilt.
Honestly, I still keep in Pithwilt in this matchup. I have plenty of other removal for the threats that dodge Pithwilt, and Pithwilt hits Intrepid. It hits a bunch of, like, value pieces.
Yeah, like, you know, like the Chalice and
hitting Bazaar, Chalice, and Intrepid is enough, I think.
You can sometimes snipe a Tinker's Tools if they tap out for it incorrectly.
Yeah, that too.
Like, it's... Egg's deck doesn't actually turn off Pithwilt. It still leaves a bunch of targets for it, especially when Pithwilt is clearing the way for something like Exeunt. I would just say Egg's deck is punishing on people who only have Pithwilt, who think, 4x Pithwilt, that's enough interaction for the day. Those decks get eaten alive by this, but I didn't feel like I didn't have enough interaction.
Yeah, I think, like, and, like, just talking about the interaction, I think one thing is that, like, Demon Worthy has, I think, proven really strong in, like, the other matchups I've seen it in, but here it just feels like you want Deem to be, like, 1 mana cheaper, and you also want it to, like, rebuy itself, just because you're like, well, I want to point it at this land, but I also want to point it at this 4-drop, and then it's like, oh, wait, you're taxing me? Oh, God. And so I think, like, while it is, like, I think the most powerful just point-and-click shooter thing, it's definitely showing its, I guess, like, its weaknesses, or, like, the ways to, like, kind of pressure it if someone's trying to play, like, an interactive deck with Deem as their only answer to some of your threats.
I definitely think that the fact that I had only 4 1-mana interaction spells that actually played to the board, and it was kind of relying on Duress and then my plethora of 2 and 3 mana interaction spells, was something that left me particularly cold to Egg's deck. It's something that I think was a good predictive meta call for the meta as a whole, since we didn't have a ton of aggro.
Who could have predicted Egg's deck? Who could have predicted?
Well, yeah. I have been punished many times in MSEM for thinking about what are the best decks in this format, and then figuring out, okay, someone's going to be on those decks, so I should figure out a deck to beat them, because that's not how people play this format. People hate playing other people's decks, and people hate playing decks that are known quantities. So, you can't really meta for things, just like go with your gut, and sometimes your gut tells you, register a bunch of 2 and 3 mana interactions, someone else says, all your spells cost 2 more to cast, and you're like, oh, huh, that's weird.
Wild. That's legal? They let you do that around here? Like, damn. Some people actually live like this. Yeah, I think
one other thing that I will say about this deck before we're done here is that one of the other things that drew me to it was that it dodges a lot of the popular counter magic. For anyone who watched my VOD against Blue's Eclipse, the deck that he brought had 3 different counter spells, and none of them a single card in my deck. That's not entirely true. Cursory Glance hits, half of the important cards in my deck, but it doesn't hit my big threats. It doesn't hit Lodestone. It doesn't hit Inquirer or Junk Trawler. And then Thought Blossom, is that the one that counters instants?
Yeah, I think Thought Blossom is just generally a weird card to have main, I will say.
The
Destructive Ambition hits nothing.
The other thing that's awkward about your deck is if someone's like, okay, well, it's fine, I'll bring in Arcane Genesis. It's like, you do not want to Arcane Genesis that deck, ever.
No,
Don't fucking do it. It will not go well.
God, Blundering Clock Tower. Like, I think I would remember talking with Egg earlier, I think it was like yesterday, and I'm like, man, this card has always seemed like nutty, but like no one was playing it, and so I was just kind of like, whatever. And now someone's playing it, and I'm like, this looks insane and disgusting.
Honestly, promo Blundering Clock Tower? When?
It's only a matter of time. I'm pretty sure it's shown up in another deck that it was decent in. I'm trying to remember which one. The green-black Anima deck that is no longer legal.
Yeah, I know Simon has been playing with Blundering Clock Tower in a red-black...
the discard deck runs Blundering Clock Tower?
Yeah, if I remember right. So it's kind of a good deck for any like it's a good card for any aggressive deck that doesn't have strict color requirements, which I think is a reasonable density of them. So yeah.
And it has absolutely no downside in this deck because I don't need colored mana, so I can just play a 7/7. No complaints here.
I definitely was hoping at least once that you would, like, try to fire it up, and I would be able to juke you just a little bit, and then be like, alright, 2 turns. But based on how that last game went, I think 2 turns, like, the time stretch moment, I still would have died. So, very sad.
Yeah, and you're right, I did miss lethal on 1 turn, but that was not because I forgot about my clock tower, but because I forgot about Intrepid.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that I had Intrepid in play because I hadn't activated it for like 6 turns, even though I cast 3 of them that game.
Oh, okay, so we speculated that you might have been playing around Pithwilt because if you got hit with a Pithwilt on the Intrepid, then if Pip then top decked a land, you would actually just die because you.
Oh, like assuming that you also activate Blundering Clock Tower. Yeah.
Which you would.
You need to do that to get lethal. So.
But is there anything else before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. Pip, thanks for the great games.
Yep.
All of them throughout the tournament. I'll see you same time, same place next month.
Hopefully. It's worked 2 times. Let's see if we can pull it off a 3rd time. Hat trick.
Hat trick, you say? Is that a secret code for the next deck you're going to bring?
That'd be a really good deck name. I should work backwards and figure out what deck gets to be.
I was gonna say, there's literally hat trick. There's literally card. Okay.
Oh right, because that hat trick. Yeah, but that deck's bad.
Yeah, don't.
But I mean, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. You said you can get to 5. Just Intrepid, Exit, hat trick.
I said good cards. I said good cards. I very clearly said if I put enough good cards in my deck, I'll probably get to top 8. When I start running bad cards, Caillou, that undermines what I just said.
Nah, so you just need to have more good cards than bad cards. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, but then I draw all the bad cards, and then I start blaming my deck.
Yeah, see, that's just your fault. Draw better. But yeah, So thanks to Dodger for commentating both this match and commentating a bunch of others throughout the rest of the tournament. It's been super great to have someone else both to cast with and someone else who can like cast matches when I'm not around. Especially in a tournament as large as this with so many matches running around. I definitely couldn't have caught all of the ones that ended up being caught if it weren't for your casting. So thanks a bunch for that.
I got you.
Thanks for everyone who is either watching this on YouTube or watching this live on Twitch. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks to Times for setting up and organizing this entire tournament. Again, biggest custom constructed format tournament ever at 25 people. And again, last month I was like, wow, how are we ever going to beat these numbers? It's crazy. And then we just smashed them. So it's only onward and upwards from here. But yeah, until next month, this is Caillou signing off.